Welcome to Career Insights with Ambition, the podcast where we delve into leaders' moments of truth that shape their careers and the businesses they work in. I'm your host, Chris Crolla, and each month we sit down with leaders to uncover the untold stories of their journey to success. Don't miss the next episode. Follow or subscribe wherever you listen. Hello and welcome to Career Insights with Ambition. I'm your host, Chris Crolla. Today we are joined by Philip Knight. I'm going to call you Phil. Phil and I actually met here, Ambition, fair few years ago now. Phil started in our finance team as an accountant and has worked his way up. He's now CFO of the Boathouse. Does a lot of fitness stuff in his spare time, which I'm sure we'll go on. Man United fan as well, proving that not everyone is perfect. What have I missed, mate?
That's a pretty good summary. Thanks for having me on. And you raise a good point. I think it's about 10 or 12 years ago since we worked together in Ambition, as I transitioned across for 1 year from Ireland. And then, as they say, the rest is history.
Happens a lot, doesn't it? You come over here for a little break and then all of a sudden you're here forever. What was it that made you come to Australia originally?
So, yeah, my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, glad to say, Kate.
You have to say that. We'll be showing her it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she has to see that. I'm giving her some good praise. We decided just to come over for a year to travel, see Australia. A couple of our friends back in Ireland as well at the same time came over too. Her brother was already here, which kind of made things a little bit easier too. And then, as they say, certain things kind of fall into place. Got a job in Ambition, had a great manager there in the name of James.
You don't have to say that part, mate. It's,
Yeah, well, no, I did. I always kind of give credit where credit is due, and then got sponsored with Ambition. And then, as I said, just the rest is history. I think one of the things that I definitely found from working back in Ireland to working in Australia, just much more opportunity, particularly to younger people here as opposed to back in Ireland. Ireland is very much along the lines of how many years experience have you got, as opposed to how good is he or she at the role, right? And the Aussie saying fair go, they do give that here, right? Which has been a great help to me because I'm lucky and fortunate enough.
Yeah, good. Because, like, obviously now borders have been opened a few years again now, and we've seen quite an influx of working holiday visas come in from UK, Ireland, all over the world, really. What advice would you get people coming over and maybe don't have Australian experience or here on that 6-month visa? Like, would you give them any advice to get into the workforce straight away?
Yeah, it's a good one. Some people are quite lucky if they've been, say, working in the Big Four. They can easily just transition across from the Big Four back in Ireland to over here, get a bit of experience here, and then leapfrog into like an internal role if they want to, and that does help. I was a little bit different in the sense that I hadn't got that previous Big Four experience. I was always interested just going directly into commercial. But the advice that I would give people is like, if you get a job opportunity as soon as you land, just take it. Like, as in, you'll get some type of experience, and no matter where you go, it might not be your forever job when you land, but just try and suss out straight away if you do have the intention that you do want to stay, is sponsorship on the cards? And if it is, just get in, put your head down, keep working, and the rewards will come themselves.
That's right. I mean, it's often the case that your second job in Australia is a bit easier to get than the first job sometimes. So even if you're getting that experience, even with local tax, things like that, it might stand you in good stead moving forward as well, I always feel. Going back into your early part of your career, even back in Ireland, what was it that attracted you to accounting itself?
In Ireland, what happens is when you're in your final 2 years of school, you kind of make a choice of what subjects to kind of choose to study before you go into college. What did I do? I did chemistry, biology, and accounting. So I was either going to go down the physio route because I obviously got a keen interest in sports, obviously massive football fan, or the other side was going to go in and do obviously just accounting or business. I'm glad now looking back on it that I obviously went onto the business side, but I've just always just had a bit of an interest in accounting. I was quite good at it naturally a little bit in school. Once I kind of got into it and you start to see how businesses kind of work, I was just kind of hooked. I was just like, this is just very, very interesting. And I don't think any accountant will ever say that they're not in it for the money, because it is obviously massively important. But when you start to see how a business actually works, more so the importance of like the people in the business, it's an amazing thing to see, because what I get to see is on a monthly basis when we're reviewing accounts to send to the board and stuff, we get to see the results of all the actions that have happened in that business in the last 30 days.
Yeah, okay.
And whether those decisions have been favorable or unfavorable, and then how your business that you're working in actually is just sitting in the bigger economic circle, right? And how that plays out. So yeah, just always kind of interested in that from an earlier part, and it just kind of steamroll from there.
Do you ever think about where you'd be right now if you'd stuck to the sports physio route, like physio for United or Tottenham? Got a pretty big injury list at the minute, mate. You could be helping them out.
I know, yeah, I do think about that. I was like, I would have been, if I went into physio, I would definitely would have went down that sports physio route. Yeah. And then I think my aspirations would have been quite high, as in being a physio for United. But I think the grim reality, I could have been on the sidelines for a GAA team, just looking after them in the reality if I didn't hit the big time. But it's an interesting space. I don't have any regrets looking back on it. I definitely made the right decision.
Yeah. Accounting in general and sort of moving into that space. I think we actually spoke before you get the job at Ambition. I think I was trying to sell you another role without realising that a job was going to come up in our space soon. What was the sort of most critical thing that you learned from James when you were in that role?
I think the best thing that happened to me in that role was that when I joined, there was James as the FC, and then there was Laurent as the CFO. And the business was going through a huge change because we were bringing a lot of the Asian reporting back from the UK over to Australia. And I was just sitting there and I was like, I could just smell the opportunity. This is going to be great. That's the biggest thing that I would suggest to people. Keep an eye out for opportunities when you're working in your company. And then James is obviously very well trained and qualified. You get lucky with the people that you work with. He just kind of let me have a go. He just let me kind of figure things out, gave me not a free open space, but a space to kind of just explore, make mistakes. And I think that's really important, that as you kind of step on in your career, you do realize that the younger people will make mistakes, and it's important to let them make mistakes, because
I agree.
We're not perfect, right?
Yeah.
And I am the product of the sum of my mistakes that I've learned from, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to have controls in place to make sure they don't make a critical mistake. And you have that, obviously, review process. I think learning from your mistakes is so critical, no matter what job you're in.
I completely agree. I often tell the guys here that as well. You learn more from failure than anything else, because you should be evaluating yourself anyway, right? And as you say, as long as the mistakes aren't critical, and there should be controls in place around that, but you have to sort of let people fly sometimes as well.
100%. And I think another critical bit about it is, particularly in accounting, it's like learn by doing, right?
Yeah.
So there was a ton of work that was available to me when I joined Ambition. I remember it clearly. I would just ask James, show me how to do that, show me how to do that, rather than just sitting and waiting in the wings going, oh, I hope he will show me that one day. I was like, I want to know how to do that. I want to know. And I always used to say it to him, I want to know how to do your role, because the only way you'll learn how to do that role is if they are showing you the things that they're doing. And then once you start to step up in your career and get a few promotions, it becomes so much more interesting, which is great.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's been a key theme for here, showing that initiative through the podcast series so far, is showing the initiative off your own back to ask to learn about things. Now, you've moved on from Ambition. You've done a couple of roles. You're now CFO at Boathouse Group. What would you say in your career, what your biggest achievement has been?
I think my biggest achievement has been my ability to work across different industries. So if I think about across my career, right, I've done recruitment, I've done BPO, I've done hospitality, I've done SaaS startup, and now I'm in property, right? Because I'm the CFO of the Boathouse Group, which is obviously owned by a broader family office, and I look across those businesses as well. I think that suits my personality, because I'm quite interested in various different businesses rather than just being completely siloed in one. But I'm at a pretty happy place now at the moment with Boathouse and hospitality, because I like the tangibility of it.
Yeah, good.
And walking into venue, seeing the actual results of the decisions that we've been making in our senior leadership team.
Yeah, good. Good places to go for a feed as well, let's be honest. So
yeah, if anyone's looking for a 10% discount, let me know. It's always a salesman.
There you go, mate. Absolutely. I'll be taking you up on that for sure. And that's great over there. When you obviously looking throughout your career, what I guess I want to know is, what was that moment of truth, that key and critical point in your career that really accelerated your career, where you maybe had some decisions to make, but what got you to the point to where you are now?
That's a good question. I think there's a couple of points in it. I think
Okay.
number one is just staying truthful to who you are as a person, right?
Yep.
Rather than trying to copy other people. Everyone's completely different, but also to be fully aware when you're working with other people to try and pick his or her strengths. So I was like, geez, I like that about Chris, right? I'm gonna take that, put it into my little toolbox, as I like to call it, or I like that about Lawrence. He did that really well. I'm going to put that into my toolbox. So just trying to pick up the strengths from as many different people as possible, and also to not take up their weaknesses, because again, I know I have weaknesses. My patience is definitely my biggest weakness. But in addition to that, just to go back to the beginning, it's just to stay truthful to yourself, right?
Yeah,
So
good.
I had a previous role where I was really, really desperate to get to that like CFO position. That was like tunnel vision, working like endless hours in this company, and got promoted from the group financial controller role into the CFO role. And I was like, right, I've made it, for want of a better word. And then things changed dramatically within the business. I'm not going to go into the details, but let's just put it, there was a bit of conflict between myself and the existing CEO. And I just said to myself, stay truthful to yourself. This is not the environment that you want to be working in. And I just say that to absolutely everyone, particularly as accountants, right? Do not be pushed into anything that you genuinely feel comfortable in doing, right? Because every accountant are meant to be working towards this code of ethics. They teach it to you on your first day, and then everyone like seems to forget that's there and it's so important. So yeah, just stay truthful to yourself and be comfortable saying no when someone else is trying to put a bit of pressure on you for X, Y, and Z. It happens absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is just super important.
Yeah, a couple of things you mentioned there. When you're talking about picking up like parts from people that you respect and picking up the good parts from everyone to sort of mold yourself. I mean, they do say you're a reflection of your closest 5 people around you. Or I do that myself. Like I think it's absolutely critical in self-development and growth to analyze those around you and take parts from each of them and try and find out who you are within there as well. And the other part that you mentioned, like being true to yourself, I always feel that I don't want to seem like too spiritual or anything, but I think that if you are true to yourself, you're really honest with yourself, and you live your life as that, good things will happen to you, and you'll go down the right path. And you're living proof of that. You've moved on. You're doing very well for yourself where you are currently. So obviously, it's worked out well for you, and I think overall it will work out well for most people as well. So really good advice there. And any other advice you would give to up and coming accountants as to what to do with their career?
Yeah, the best piece of advice that I could probably give to someone is probably, it's kind of two phrases. It's like, number one is like, keep going, right? Like earlier on in your career, you've got endless amounts of energy, right? So you should be just trying to get as much experience as possible. Put your hand up for anything that you haven't done before. And like, it's not even in the accounting team. It's like there might be something in the ops team where you go, listen, I'll give you a hand out with that. I think the best accountants are the ones that are not truly accountants forever, but they're actually become, you call them businessmen, or the more commercial you actually understand the business, the better. So just put your hand up for everything, keep going, right? And the other bit is like, just own it. Like, there's this guy called Jocko Willink, right? I don't know whether you've ever heard of him.
No.
He's like an ex Navy SEAL guy, right? Big, massive, muscly fella who does jujitsu, but he was obviously in the Navy SEALs over in Iraq when the war was on.
Yeah.
And he has a great book out there. It's called Extreme Ownership. And he's just in the army. It's just like, own it. Like, if something isn't going your way, take ownership of it and make it go your way. If you can't rely on someone, own it yourself and just get it done yourself, right?
Yeah, good.
I think that can actually be reflected quite well in the workplace as well. And if something's not getting done, get it done yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because then your boss will go, I could give him or her absolutely anything, and he or she will actually just get it done.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be hunting down a promotion, but when you start to do those things, the promotions will just come. If you're interested in kind of like getting up that career, and you have to have that get up and go. If you've got aspirations to do better, it does not come without any hard work, unfortunately.
Same in any career, definitely. Put your hand up for everything. It is absolutely great advice. Be open to learning new tasks, even if they're outside your domain. And trust me, like yourself, like it gets noticed. It gets noticed by leaders, and you are opening yourself up for that mentorship as well. Mate, it's been great having you on the podcast. Thank you so much. Cheers, mate.
Pleasure.
That concludes another insightful episode of Career Insights with Ambition. If you've been inspired by today's conversation, share it with a friend or leave us a review and subscribe to the podcast. Until next time, keep leading with ambition and turning your moments of truth into milestones for success. All right, cool. Career Insights with Ambition, brought to you by Ambition, a specialist recruitment agency committed to building better futures for organisations we work for and the professionals we help. Subject matter experts in accounting and finance, banking and financial services, technology and transformation, we're here to help. Find out more at ambition.com.au.